second, I forgot to record. Okay. Specifically, the Mechilta says that Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim is at a time when the matzah and maror are in front of you. So not only is the matzah there seemingly as an accessory during the Seder, but it seems to be playing a more specific role than that. And that's exactly what we want to try to examine. When it says that when the matzah and maror are munachim lefanecha, is that telling me simply it's an indicator of time? I don't know when I could do it. I don't have an idea. I need a specific direction from the Torah to tell me when I have the chiyuv of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, this special unique mitzvah. So it says, you know when that is? That's when you have the matzah in front of you. So, okay, the matzah is in front of me. I know it, the Leila Seder, right? That's a central part of the Seder. So it's just a means of telling me simply the time of what's needed. Or, and again, if you look at the Mechilta again carefully, is it saying a little bit stronger than that? Is it a condition? Is it a t'nai that in order to fulfill Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, the matzah needs to be there? This elevates the role that matzah would play. This significantly elevates the role matzah will play at Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's not merely an accessory, and it's not just an indication of what time of day or what date I'm going to be fulfilling Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. It is telling me that a conditional aspect to do Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, to fulfill that mitzvah, I need matzah there. And therefore, one could deduce potentially, and we're going to see shittas that say this, that if I don't have matzah there, and this may sound strange, but if matzah is not present, then Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim is a mitzvah that's simply not in play. And because it plays that much of an incumbent role on it. It could also just as an if you want to go the time route. So this could also potentially play an effect into what time I could start the Seder, maybe in terms of I know that I have a mitzvah of matzah at night, but if I say that it's specifically an indicator that I can only perform Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim at the time I do matzah, then we need to get specific. What if you want to start me ba'od yom? If you want to start before Tzeis HaChochama, before the Zman of Matzah, right? So that would mean that it's a t'nai for it to be there, but it's not necessarily just a condition. It's not a means of telling me the time I have to perform Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. The ba'od yom b'shah shematzah mar munachim lefanecha is simply telling me that you need matzah there. It's not saying you can only perform the mitzvah when you have the matzah there. So there's two paths on this. It either has to be there, and I cannot perform the mitzvah of Sippur if it's not there, or there's the path to say that it's simply telling me what time I could do Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. And at the Leila Seder, when I have the matzah there, only then can I begin the Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. There's a whole other aspect to this sugya. I'm going to skip over it, no pun intended, but the other aspect to the sugya is that if you're going to tell me that Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim has a specific designated time by the way we learn from this pasuk of Bizman Shematzah Munachim Lefanecha, then what are some of the nafkaminas of mitzvahs to say Shazman Grama if it's a time-bound mitzvah? So that'll lead into the discussion. To what extent are women chayiv in it? Women are chayiv in Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. They have the chiyuv. We have the chiyuv. That's ultimately what we paskin. We're going to skip over that sugya for the purposes of time, but just to give you an idea as well. So we saw the Mechilta on page Zion. We're going to start seeing the different opinions in terms of how they understand B'shah sheyesh matzah maror munachim lefanecha. So if you take a look at page 8, we'll start with the Rambam and the Sefer HaMitzvos. The Mishnah Torah, similar diukim, can be made in the Rambam and the Mishnah Torah, but they brought us the Rambam and Sefer HaMitzvos. And the Rambam says, when describing the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, if you can look at the bottom of the last line of page Ches within the graded Rambam. It says, "V'yigara levincha yochum rosh chodesh Talmud lomar." I'm on the last line of page 8. Talmud lomar b'yomahu b'yomahu yochum ba'od yom. This is the Mechilta. Talmud lomar ba'avur zeh lo amarti. Ela b'shah sheyesh matzah or maror munachim lefanecha. Seems to be not expanding that it's a t'nai, but kilomar mitchila halayla chayv ata lesaper, says the Rambam. From the beginning of the night, i.e., at the same time period where the mitzvah of matzah begins to take effect, that is also when the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim has the effective starting period. He does not interpret it to mean that I actually literally need matzah there in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's a time indicator. That's how he interprets it. Now, if you take a look at the Minchas Chinuch on page Yod, he gets a little bit more specific with the Rambam in terms of understanding this. I'm going to go in the middle here. The Minchas Chinuch on page, page Yod, and it's on the right margin. And you see here, the first word on the Minchas Chinuch that I'd like to start on, the first one on the line is V'maror Munachem, Hainu, Bizman Shemitzavim al Matzah Umaror. That at the time that I have the mitzvah of Matzah Maror, that's when I have the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. Does that pashut the Matzah Maror eno me'akvim hasipur? It's not to say that I cannot perform the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim if I don't have the matzah there. And we don't find that this mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim is talui, is conditional that if I have matzah maror in front of you. After Torah kavazman laila tesvav, the mitzvah mal matzah, that the Torah is simply giving me the period in time which I'm able to perform Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. So again, when you start thinking about it, and here's where the nafkaminas would be, right? And I thought of a few. It sounds strange. What is the Minchas Chinuch even discussing? It's telling me that do I really need matzah there in front of me? So what seder have you been to that has not had matzah there? My nafkamina. So the truth is that we have had historically, and unfortunately we do have cases where Jews did not have the matzah in front of them during Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. We've had cases during the Holocaust, but you don't need to go to the Holocaust. It reminds me of when we talked about Kiddush with Rav Tendler, that we discussed that Rav Tendler held by the mitzvah of Kiddush on Leil Shabbos, that you could perform Kiddush. He quoted the Nodei Behuda simply by saying Vaychulu or Good Shabbos, right? That was the famous Nodei Behuda, the Bir Halacha quoted. By saying Good Shabbos, I could fulfill mitzvah of Zachar Yom Shabbos Lakacho. So the point is that there are periods in time where a person may find themselves, let's say, in a hospital, unfortunately. So they're not going to be able to have a full-fledged seder. You could have soldiers that, again, hopefully they have what they need. But let's say all a person has is their memory, and all the person has is their ability to recount the Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim and to tell that over, and they don't have matzah in front of them. That's where it could become really fundamental in terms of how we understand it. That's where the Minchas Chinuch is going. That's to be contrasted with the Ramban. The Ramban on the next page. So the shita of the Rambam is that it's not conditional to have matzah there. It's simply telling me the time. But if you take a look at the Ramban on the next page, on page Yud Aleph, and on his hasagos on the Rambam Sefer Mitzvos, he here is talking about the mitzvah of Birchas HaTorah. What does the mitzvah of Birchas HaTorah have to do with Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim? So he says something very interesting. If you take a look at that, towards the very end, the second to last line on page Yud, I'm not going to do the whole mitzvah, but he says here, Mikol zenitzbar shabracha hazu min Torah, that the bracha of Birchas HaTorah is its own separate mitzvah. The Rambam does not hold that. The Rambam holds that there's a mitzvah of Talmud Torah, and all encompassing within that mitzvah of Talmud Torah is the mitzvah of Birchas HaTorah, and it's all included in it. He does not count it because the mitzvah of Talmud Torah as a separate mitzvah. The Raman disagrees, and he says that Birchas HaTorah should be a separate mitzvah. And here's his line. I'm on the last line of this Ramban. The ein roi limnosa mitzvah achas ima kriya. It should not be counted. The mitzvah of Birchas HaTorah should not be counted as one mitzvah along with the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Kimo shemikra bikurim eino nimneh. achas im heveisam. Just like mikra bikurim is one mitzvah, and the actual bringing of bikurim is a separate mitzvah. Look at the next example it gives: v'sipur yetzias Mitzrayim and achilas matzah. That's just like Sippur, I have Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim and achilas matzah. In other words, what he's trying to argue with on the Rambam is the Rambam says that if I have a t'nai, if I have a condition to fulfill a mitzvah, I'm not going to count it as a separate mitzvah. Okay, in order to fulfill Talmud Torah, I need to say Birchas Torah. It must be necessary for me to say Birchas Torah before I perform Talmud Torah. So the Rambam's going to count that as one mitzvah. He's not going to count the condition as a separate mitzvah. The Ramban says that's not true. We have plenty of examples where I have two separate mitzvahs, even though the t'nai, what's conditional for me to perform the second mitzvah, mitzvah A, which is conditional for me to perform mitzvah B, is still counted as its own separate, distinct mitzvah. And the examples he gives, and one of them is mikra bikurim, right, and hivias bikurim. I bring the bikurim, but before I bring the bikurim, there's a condition. I must say the speech of Aram Yovid Avdi, right? Okay, I have to give that whole over. That's a condition on bringing of bikurim. The Ramban says they're two separate mitzvahs. Also says the Ramban, the mitzvah of matzah and the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim are two separate mitzvahs. Even though the Ramban says implicitly, even though that conditional on me performing Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim is conditional upon me performing Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim is the having matzah there. So he counts it that, and if you look at where he gets it from, the footnotes here flesh it out a little bit more, but it's that it's because of this idea that bismachem matzah mar munachim lefanecha, that it has to be there. So in other words, the Ramban would say, if you don't have matzah present, or for that matter, maybe he would say about Mora as well, but the Ramban doesn't say that. If you don't have matzah present, then no dice. You've got nothing going on, and you cannot perform the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. If you take a look at the next page, this is, it's a stretch, but it's the Bahag and his sefer. It's a commentary on a commentary of the Bahag and the Sefer Mitzvahs. And he goes here through length on this machlokas. And what he says here, very interestingly, is if you take a look I'm on Yud Gimel now. So in the first, the column on the left where it's highlighted. So he says here, Venir she'taimo bezeh mimash amru b'mechilta ba'avur zeh lo amarti l'cha ela shebisha sheish matzah mar munachim lefanecha al shulchanecha v'svira le da dvarim kipshutan u'kamashman delo mechai v'sifur Yetzias Mitzrayim ela al matzos umerorim kishu munachim lefanav al shulchano muchanim la'achilaso kimashmot lishna dekra, that they need to actually go ahead and to be there when I perform this mitzvah. I'm going to skip, and in the next column, towards the end, the first one line is Ba'alma. It's Ba'alma, and then there's a period.
It's a totally different thing.
What do you mean, is it?
I don't have the same source sheets as you.
Oh, you don't, on page 13, it doesn't.
Okay, I'm sorry, let me mute myself.
No, it's okay.
Just continue without, ignore me.
Okay. Umihai taima darshina nami, I'm right after the word bi'ama. Umihai taima darshina nami, lechem oni, she'onin alav devarim harbe. This opens up a whole new Pandora's box, because we have another Gemara which we're going to see in a minute. Mishum de kishe'ein lechem matzah lefanav al shulchan, ein omrim hagada. Umizeh sfirle habahag, that specifically these two items are me'akev in the performance of the mitzvah. That it's, in other words, he's in the Ramban's camp. He's in the Ramban's camp that if I don't have matzah there, I cannot perform the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. The Trumas Hadeshen goes on the other side. If you take a look at the next page on Yodalid, the Trumas Hadeshen was asked the question, Sheila, Be'erev Pesach, kishayotzim mi beis hakneses ba'arvit, adayin yom hu, it's still day. Shari lekadesh ala kos v'lahatchil asedem ba'od yom olav. You're going to daven a little bit early. Seisel Chavim has not arrived yet. I feel like this will be pertinent for many of us this year because we're not going to be in shul, frankly. So technically a person can go, they'll daven mincha, they'll daven maariv, they'll bring in Shabbos, there's no speech, there's no nothing. We're going to go straight in. And then we're going to be sitting around looking at each other until it's Sason. And Sason is approximately, 8:15-ish, somewhere around there, right? So we're going to bring in Yom Tov Samanish, and then by, let's say, Mincha, Maariv, boom. And then what do we do? Can we start yet? So he says here, you cannot start. And he says he's going to jumble in a few reasons. That also, so Mordechai v'Ashri Reish Erev Pesachim kasu b'shem Hari deloronesh de'ein mitzvahs matzah maror ela b'layla mamish. The mitzvah of matzah and maror is only at night, meaning at night mamish, specifically tzeitzach ochavim. Ve'im kain afagav dekodem shesim ha'agada ve'egia la'echol matzah maror yeh layla mamish mikol makom kos shel kiddush hu echad me'arba kosos gam echila shari rakos ve'yoter shinu de avdina kidei sheishalu hatinokos. All these other things that we do, it has to be at night itself. The kol shekain ha'agada atzma. In other words, Sippur Tzes Mitzrayim. Ba'inami de lahave b'shas sharoi lechol matzah morar. That it has to be specifically at the time. The mitzvah of Sippur Tzes Mitzrayim has to be specifically at the time that I have the matzah morar there in front of me. In other words, it's not conditional. It's not conditional, says the Trumas and Dashen. It's simply an indicator. When it says b'shas matzah morar munachim lefanecha, it's simply an indicator of that it has to be there. Of when I perform mitzvah Sippur Tzes Mitzrayim, and he fleshes it out specifically. He quotes the Mechilta, and he says right after the Mechilta, right? I'm 5 lines down into the second column. Sorry, 4 lines down. Rutz the Lomar b'shas roi lechol matzah morar. At the time where it's rori, where I'm able to eat matzah morar, the hami ba'od yom. That's when I could perform Sippur Tzes Mitzrayim. Okay, because he says something interesting here. He said, if you're simply telling me that I need a prop at the table to perform Sippur Tzes Mitzrayim, I can't do mitzvah of Sippur Tzes Mitzrayim until some matzahs in front of me. If you're going to interpret it that way, what kind of silliness is that? Then you know what? When it's still daytime outside, I take a box of matzah, I take some more, put it in front of me, I say, good, now I can do whatever I want. Because that's of course silly. There's no other way to understand that pasuk other than telling me that it's just indicating to me the time after Tzeitzach Ochavim I could be performing mitzvah Sippur Tzes Mitzrayim. If you're just telling me Bizman Shem Matzah Mar Munach Lefanecha, okay, so you know what? It's 7:30. Go take some matzah. Go take some more. Put it in front of you, and it could be a prop. But that matzah mar is nothing. It's not a matzah. It's not anything that I'm going to use. It's not anything that's going to be part of a mitzvah tonight. It's simply acting as a prop, and that would be just silliness. It would not make sense to simply say it's there as a prop. It has to be the way it's understood. It has to be the way it's understood that it's specifically bizman shematzah, that it's bizman, specifically the time of matzah mar munach lefanecha. So if you divvy this up, you have 2 camps. Okay, you have the camp of the Ramban and the Trumas Hadashim, which we just read, which are saying it's conditional. I'm sorry. You have the Ramban and the Bahag, which are saying it's conditional. I cannot perform mitzvah of Sippur Tzes Mitzrayim unless there's matzah physically present there in front of me. And then you're going to have the camp of the Rambam and the Minchas Chinuch and the Trumas Hadashim, which are saying it's simply indicating to me this time. This mechilta, this idea that bizman shematzar maror munachim lefanecha. Michael just posted bizman shematzar maror munachim lefanecha. Then it would it's simply the time of when I would perform the mitzvah. Michael asked, don't we know that from the Erev Tochel Matzos? What do you mean, Michael? Is he there? I could unmute you. Michael? Okay, I'm going to continue, but I would like to, I could try to guess your question, right? In other words, don't I know that the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim is at nighttime from Be'erev Tochlu Matzos? Is that what you're saying? So that tells me Be'erev Tochlu Matzos is telling me when I eat matzah, but it doesn't tell me when I perform the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. The way I know where I perform Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim is that drasha from the Mechilta of Ba'avur Zeh, Ba'avur Shematzah Mara Munachim Lefanecha.
What about from the of in Bnei Brak, where they were Okolos Alayla, they were being Mesaper Yetzias Mitzrayim.
Right.
So after Chatzos, there's no more matzah, there's no more maror in the table anymore.
Yeah.
Is there any proof from that?
Well, people have different takes in terms of what they were actually discussing. So I forgot where I saw this. I think I happen to have out of a dozen of Pesach Sfarim that I'm using to prepare for all the different things. I happen to have something from the Rav that talks about that, where he says, he says that after Chatzos, they were learning, they weren't learning Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, they were learning Hilchos Pesach, specifically because of what you brought up, Paul. Because if maybe the Rav, it's like I think there's a Hari Kedem, I don't quote me, but I've seen this in like a few different places. I'm getting all the Pesach Torah mixed up. Let me rephrase Paul's question, because it's a very sharp question, actually. Paul is saying that you see from that story that they were saying the whole Pesach story up until Zman Kriyas Shema, until the next morning. Okay, good. When do we make sure we finish all the matzah? When do we make sure to finish the Afikom? And when is that? We do everything before Chatzos, right? We do it that night. So, in other words, what you see a divergence. You see that the mitzvah, seemingly, from that Maisa of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Ezer, Rabbi Tarfon, and Rabbi Gamliel, I'm missing a fifth one, right? There was 5 of them, but I think I got all those 4 correct. They're there till sunrise, doing the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. But if you're telling me that the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim is tied to when I have matzah in front of me, then matzah stops at Chatzos. They're continuing past Chatzos. So some interpret that they were engaged in 2 different discussions that night. Up until Chatzos, when it's the Zman Matzah, they were engaged in the mitzvah of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. From Chatzos until sunrise, they were engaged in Hilchos Pesach, which is also a form of the kiyum of mitzvah Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's what the Rav holds. But other people say that those 2 are tied together. It's a good question. It's a good question to tie the 2 together. Seemingly, the mitzvah goes the whole night of mitzvah Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, meaning the whole night into the next morning. I mean, Kol Amarbe of the Marich Zem Shubach, right? And we have stories of people that would do that. It's a really good question. I don't know the full. I don't know I gave you an answer, but I'm not the most comfortable with it. The answer that I've seen is that it was a different discussion after Chatzos. It was a discussion of Hilchos Korban Pesach. But what we're about to do actually is the Trumas, not the Trumas Sadeshin, but the Bahag that we saw. It quoted a whole other idea, which many of us may be familiar with. If you look at the source sheets in the Gemara Pesachim on Kuf Tesvav on one base, it's page Tesvav in the source sheets. Okay, and it's 2 lines of Gemara, 3 lines. It says Lechem Oni, right? Poor man's bread, but the Gemara interprets Lechem Oni and gives an explanation of Lechem She'onin Alav Devarim. It's bread which I speak many words of it, right? Tanina mihachi, lechem oni, this poor man's bread. Oni can mean poor, like an ani, but it could also mean like oneh, la'anot, to answer, to discuss. Lechem she'onin alav, that we have a lot of speech going on around it. So this drasha seems to be telling me something else. This drasha, we had the mechilta. It's true, we had the mechilta that said bisman shematzah mara munachim lefanecha. That seems to be telling me at the time where I have matzah and moror in front of me. But this one is telling me that matzah is there for me to specifically to be darshaning. It's lechem oni, this homiletic drasha of the Gemara. It's from a Gemara, right? It's telling me it's there as a way for me to conduct and have conducive conversation. So that seems to be putting it on a separate pedestal. That seems to really be saying that the matzah's role is for there to be discussion on it. How far do you take this, by the way? That the role of the matzah needs to be having discussion on it. There's going to be shittas we see, and this is going to be sound, a little bit extreme, but there's going to be opinions that we see that are going to take it to the fact and say as follows. So you're going to have the matzah there. You're going to have the matzah on the seder plate. You're going to have it on your table, and you're going to have 3 matzahs there, right? If you're going to tell me that the matzah she'onen alav devarim harbe needs to be there, let me ask you: you do all of Sippur Yetziya Mitzrayim, you do all of Magid with the matzah, with the 3 matzahs there. The matzah breaks. So I go get other matzah. So that other matzah, I didn't do Magid on it. Okay? I didn't do anything on it. So I'm going to bring other matzah there. That matzah, who knows what happened? The dog ate it. I don't know. Something, it's out of the picture. So what happens now? So it seems to be, these two are so closely tied together from this second source that we see that it's specifically matzah she'onen alav devarim harbe, and you combine that with maybe some of the shittas we saw earlier, and it puts you in a predicament. So let's see what some of the Rishonim and Achronim, how they interpret this idea of lechem she'onen alav devarim harbe. The Tur takes this Gemara on page. Can't see my page here. 1 second. On Tez Zion, and the Tur says as follows. In the middle of the page, he says, "Machzir haKe'ara sheba matzos," is meaning when you get to Magid, right? When you're about to do Avadim Hayinu, you bring back the Ke'ara, the Seder plate that the matzos are on it. Kedei shetia lefanav ke'she'omer ha'agada. It needs to be there when you say the Haggadah. You don't need any matzah. You need the matzahs from the Seder plate. They need to be there. And how does he know this? Lechem she'onen alav devarim. The Gemara I just showed you. You take a look at the next page. The next page you have the Shulchan Aruch Harav, and he says as follows: Acher she'achal hayirakos yaviu lefanav mishomer haggadah shlosha matzos shel mitzvah. The 3 matzos of mitzvah. In other words, don't go bring me a box of matzah from the pantry that's still in the box to say, okay, lechem she'onen alav devarim harbe. The 3 matzos, the ones that are going to be on the Seder plate, shel mitzvah, kedei lomar aleihem hahaggadah. On those matzahs, I have to say the Haggadah. It's. I was making a little bit of a joke by saying, oh, it's there maybe as a prop. You need the shlosha matzahs from the Ka'ara there. How? Because the Gemara just showed you. Shnamar lechem oni v'darshu chachamim lechem she'onen alav devarim harbe. The hainu amiras Haggadah. I need to say the Haggadah over them. And then he goes on to say that there's other reasons as well. He quotes the Shulchan Aruch Harav. Talks about this idea also, so that they need to be before you, b'shas amira ha'agada, and he continues with that. If you take a look at the next page, he talks about the matzahs that are in terms of the breaking of the matzah. He says, this is for the formats of yachatz. You take the middle matzah that's in front of you, and you break it in half. The matzahs that are in front of you, b'ka'ara v'livsa miktasa, and you're gonna break some of it off. Mitam shispar v'nagu kol yisrael shemiktasa shabotzim me'amatzah osim gambo mitzvah cheres. I'm gonna perform another mitzvah with this part that I break off, and that is for the afikomen. Lefichach nachon hadavar sheyeh miktsas hazeh rov hamatzah sha'afikomen hi mitzvah chashuva. Okay. Okay, it's talking about the matzah that it should be placed there in terms of that I'm going to break off specifically from the mitzvah, the matzos of mitzvah. The miksas hasheni talks about, okay, what do you do, and what do you do with the half? So half of it you're going to hide for the afikomen. What do you do with the second half? So now I'm now on page Yud Tes at the top. Miksas hasheni tzarich lachzor lekar levlitin oto b'toch shtei matzos hashlemos. I need to specifically over those 2 matzahs, the 2.5 matzahs I should say that are left. I should say the Haggadah over them. I need specifically the matzah there that it's going to be rowy, but seemingly the one I'm going to be using to fulfill my mitzvah obligation. Shneimar tochlu alav matzos. tochal alav matzos lechem oni v'darsh chamim she'onim alav devar maharbe. And so those matzos which are specifically rawi lemitzvah, they need to be there to say the Haggadah on it. So that seems to really be tying the two together. That seems to be taking this idea of the Torah, between the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch Harav, that they need to be present and there, and only then can I, and it's not just a prop, the matzah, which I'm going to be using, matzahs from the Seder plate. You see everyone saying you take the 3 matzahs to say Magid on it. You take the 3 matzahs to say Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. But the Bach isn't buying this. He says this is too literal. We're taking something and we're making it too literal. If you take a look at page Chaf, the Bach says as follows. It's on the right-hand margin. It says, and he's quoting from the Torah. The Torah was the one here which says that you take the matzos, that they should be in front of you for the Amiras Haggadah. And the Torah said, and the Bach says, Ken kasav gam hasmak. The smak says this as well. Shemachzir and ka'ara, where you bring the Seder plate back. Kishiyomar avadim hayinu, because when I start magid, mishum delechem oniksiv she'on malav devarim harbe kezeita begemara. Because of this gemara which I read to you a few moments ago. The ein mikan raya. Don't bring a raya from this. We're too literal, guys. I've been too literal with you for the last 3 minutes. The alav ein perusho alav mamish. That when it says that she'onim alav devarim harbe, that on these matzahs, I'm saying the mitzvah Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. Alav doesn't mean literally alav. Ain't. That's the key of this bach. These 4 words. Ein perusho alav mamish. Ela haki perusho. Rather, this is what it means. Al Indian halechem onim devar maharbe. That on the topic of matzah, I should be doing a lot of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim and Magid on the Indian of it, not the Indian of it physically mamish being there, but the Indian conceptually from a thought and cognitive standpoint. She'ikar hagadahu be'inyan mitzvahs matzah she'romez lecherus. The matzah, after all, stands for so many things. It stands for our freedom. It stands for the fact that it was poor man's bread, and it stands for all these different things. And it's not that I specifically need the matzah there that I'm going to perform Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. Alav ain't alav mamish. That's what the Bach says. Now, the Gra, if you take a look at what the Gra held in the Ma'aseh Harav, on the next page on Chaf Aleph, he says as follows. I'm in the middle of it. And I am conscious of the time, and I'm sure we all have places to go and things to do. And I think Izzy did end up eating his bagel in the room he shouldn't have, so he needs time to clean it up before the day starts. So we'll make sure to wrap up soon. So I am conscious of the time. We're going to get to the halacha l'maaseh very soon. But the Gra says on page Chaf, Omar Haggadah. Sorry, not page Chaf. I'm on page Chaf Aleph. The Gra says, Omar Haggadah ad shemigia l'matzah zu mivina ka'ara. You bring the ka'ara to the table when you say matzah zu. What does that imply? Okay, fine. But that line, what does it imply? The ka'ara doesn't need to be at the Seder plate mamish. But he says you're going to bring it to the table. Right before, when you say matzah zu, so okay, when you point to the matzah, you need the Seder plate there. But you need to be darshaning the whole Haggadah and all of Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. The Gra and the Bach, they're in the camp. Ein alav mamish. It just means on the topic of matzah, but I don't actually need to go ahead and to keep it there. What I'd like to do is they have a whole section here in terms of mitzvah Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, in terms of the first drasha that we had, that bisman matzah amar munach lefanecha, they get into a whole discussion of how it's a time-bound mitzvah and the obligation of women, specifically in regards to it. Of course, we paskin, women are also chayav in Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim. So I want to go quickly to the halacha l'maaseh, and then to go ahead and to wrap up. So if you work with me to get to page, let me see here, Lamed Aleph. Okay. So we have here in Mitzvah in page Lamed Aleph, we have the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Taf Ayin Gimel, you see where the hand is pointing into the middle? We're going to be wrapping up. In other words, when we start Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, Hada Haggadah, Machzir Hagar Sheba, HaMitzvah, Machzir HaKa'ara Sheba HaMatzos Lefanav, V'Korah Kol Haggadah. You bring it back, not like the Gra. You don't just simply bring it back when you say Matzazu. You're going to have it there when you say Avadim Hayinu, and it's going to be there when I do the entire Haggadah. You turn to the next page. The Ramah says, just in case you thought that was just for Sfardim, the Ramah says on page Chaf Beis, again, it's at the top of the page, there's a hand pointing in the margin, where I'm going to say in the middle, V'yeh HaPas, the last full line of the Ramah. V'yeh HaPas Megula B'shas She'omer Haggadah. The pas, i.e., the matzah, should be uncovered when I say it. When I say the Haggadah. Why? You go a little bit further down the page. You'll see another hand in the margin for the Mishnah Brura, and he says, "V'yeh hapas megule delachein mitz nikra hamatzah lechem oni she'on alav dvarim harbe." They interpret it literally. They're not like the Gra, and it's not like the Bach. They are within the camp of the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch Harav, that it needs to actually be there and present when I say the matzah, when I say the Haggadah. The matzah actually needs to be present in its essential part. It's not a prop. It's so intrinsically tied together. The last source we'll do inside is, you see on the Pri Megadim on Lamed Gimel, it says on page Lamed Gimel on the right side. And he says, the Pri Megadim says as follows. So what happens to our case? What happens to our case of Rahman al-Islam, the people in the Holocaust, that they couldn't put together matzah? What happens to the case of the soldiers of the Chayalim, who, for whatever reason, they're out there, they're in the field, they're busy, hopefully they're busy protecting us, they're not busy fighting wars, they're just there as a presence at a maximum, and they're not able to obtain matzah. What happens to the Rahman al-Islam, the person who finds himself alone or in a hospital, and for whatever reason, the circumstances, logistically, they can't have matzah there. So we just learned so much between Lechem Onisha Onim Alav Dvarim Harbe, and between Bizman Shematzah Amor Munachim Lefanecha, right? That it seems to be these two mitzvahs are so tied. That Magid and Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim is so tied to matzah. So what happens to those people? So says the Pri Megadim, Haggadah mitzvah saseh min Torah. I'm in the graded box on the right column. The Haggadah is a Doraisa, ba'af ein lo matzah and moror. And even if someone doesn't have matzah and moror, ba'ayin siman tav sam. And even if someone doesn't have matzah and moror, even if I don't actually have it there. But again, it does seem to be that for those of us, for the overwhelming majority of us who are able to have the matzah there, we should be cognizant of what we paskin. Sometimes now where it comes up for most of us, hopefully even this year, for most of us, we are not in situations, there are people, but hopefully they'll have matzah. But most of us, we're going to have at our Seder, we're going to have a table, and of course, we're going to have matzah. Where it does come up, and again, everyone should follow their minhag, but you do see that what does happen, and I've been at Seders that it does, is you got a table, the table's jam-packed. You got so much going on with it, right? So you're moving stuff around. What can we keep on the table? What can't I? I got the cups. I've got the cups of wine. I've got this. I've got that. Okay, move the matzah off the table. Make some more room. Not so pasha. If someone has the minhag of the gra, like we said, then okay, that's one thing. But if for most of us, we should be aware that during Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, that we have that during Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, we have the matzah in front of us. Why is it, and with this I want to conclude, why is it that these two are so intrinsically tied together? Matzah needs to be there, and for that matter, not only matzah, but matzah and maror physically need to be there. So I want to conclude with you with an idea from the Al-Sheikh. The Al-Sheikh says that they're there to serve us in terms of enabling our ability to perform Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim, both the matzah and the maror. What do I need both of them? The matzah represents our difficulty. The matzah represents that we were poor. It's poor man's bread. It's lechem oni. And the maror is also reminding us of the bitter herbs. How many reminders, how many tools do I need to enable me to perform Sippur Yetzias Mitzrayim? They both remind us of the hardships we experienced in Egypt. So Al-Sheikh says an idea. He says that there was two types of hardships we faced in Egypt. There was the hardship of the body, and there was the hardship of the soul. What do we say by maror? That maru, he says specifically here, that we say by maror, that zeichel shibud hanefesh, that it was there to remind us of the shibud hanefesh, that from our souls were embittered souls. We were emotionally people that were put down. We were despondent. You just think of it from a chronological perspective. You had Jews that were born and died within slavery. You had family generations that came and went in Egypt that, they had nothing. They had no ability. Their souls were bitter. And of course, we have the guf as well. We had people that our bodies were physically subjugated to such extremely harsh work for the sake of work simply for the Egyptians to keep us preoccupied. And the shir tonight, I'm going to discuss two scary midrashim, but just to give you an idea that lechem she'onam alav devarim harbe, that the shir tonight, it's not a regular shir. The shir is to enable people to have divrei Torah at the seder. So it'll be like a chick-chack, boom, boom, give divrei Torah, you come, you go, and you have what to do to lead your seder. But there's two midrashim which I'm going to point out, that the Egyptians would make us build things on land that foundationally could not support the building. That's so frustrating. They were building for the sake of building. They didn't want the building so they could occupy it. They didn't want the building so they could do something with it. They wanted the building to torture us. They wanted the building to just subjugate us to our bodies. Another medrash says that they would make us build things during the day, and at night they would make us destroy it right there on the spot. That was the shibud haguf. I think this year in particular, not to the same extent, of course, but I think all of us in different ways, we have a shibud hanefesh and a shibud haguf. There are those of us who, unfortunately, and even within our soul, we have more cases than some people may be aware, where we have people that are hospitalized. We have people in our soul who have family members and parents who are unfortunately hospitalized. There's definitely an element where our bodies are subjugated to such a holy that's difficult. And in terms of our soul, again, everything contextualizing, not comparing, but certainly there's a taste in terms of our ability of how difficult it's been for us from an anxiety perspective, from an emotional perspective. We have the loneliest seder for many people than they've had in a generation. The number of people who simply have not had a seder, do not have a seder to go to, and I'm talking about elderly and young, all over. You have 80-year-old, 90-year-old women and men who are performing a seder by themselves, unfortunately. And you have young people who are not married yet, and who are at a stage which is already lonely in life as they're waiting to get married, who on the Upper West Side, I heard, and all over, they're performing sedarim by themselves in their apartments. And there's definitely an emotional aspect as well. We daven, and our hope is that that the Geula will come soon, and specifically a Yeshua for what we're dealing with, both from a shibud hanefesh and shibud haguf, and we should have those in mind who are going through something, both from a shibud hanefesh and a shibud haguf during this period of time. I wish everyone a Chag Kosher v'Sameach. I really can't wait to learn with all you guys again. I think I take responsibility that the last few weeks we have not had the shirman on a regular basis as we should have. There's a lot of juggling and a lot of placing going on and moving parts going on. But I think especially with what we have going on, it's not an excuse, but it's an all the more reason we should be trying to maintain, or if not increase, our Talmud Torah. So I look forward, B'ezrat Hashem, after Pesach to, again, we'll see when things lift, how we'll be learning together. Can't tell you, but I certainly believe their hope to continue learning together with you guys Sunday morning, and we should try to continue and really use this time not to learn less, but if anything, to learn more and as much as we can. Chag Kosher v'Sameach to everyone, and again, wishing you and all your families the best. Thank you.